My name is Rick Petherbridge, and I'm here to talk tennis. And specifically, we're going to be talking about the Miami Open. And let's start with the men's draw. And the first thing that's really important to understand about the men's draw is the players that aren't playing. So Djokovic, the number one player in the world, is not playing. Nadal's not playing. Federer is not playing. And Dominic Thiem is not playing. And that makes this Miami Open particularly interesting because this is an opportunity for the young players, the one who are going to be the future dominant players on the tour. This is their opportunity to win a Masters event, and it's also their opportunity to sort of establish themselves as the front runner. The next guy who's going to replace Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic when they retire or they step down. So let's go through that next group of players. And at the top of that is Medvedev. Medvedev's ranked 2 in the world. He made it to the finals of the Australian Open this year. He is an extremely talented hard court player. He's tall, but is a great mover, a really good defensive player, and a great competitor. And out of the most talented group of young players, he's the one that's competed the best in the Grand Slams. So he made it to the finals of the US Open, and he also made it to the finals of the Australian Open. And if I had to pick somebody, he would be my favorite. Although I admit that the top 3 players are very evenly matched in terms of skill level and talent. And really any one of them has a great opportunity to win Miami. And next up, I would put Zverev. He is ranked 7 in the world right now. He has performed quite well in Masters events. He's won a couple of Masters events already. He has not performed quite as well in the Grand Slams, at least not as well as Medvedev. But he's continued to improve, and he would be a close second in terms of my favorites to win. And then the third player that I would include in this group of 3 that I think each have a really good opportunity to win Miami, and that would be Tsitsipas. And Tsitsipas is also an extremely talented player. He hasn't had as much success as Zverev in the Masters events, and he hasn't had as much success as Medvedev in the Grand Slams. He's also younger than both of them, and he's still improving. And this is his opportunity, right? I mean, he has the skill level to win this event, and it would definitely be a breakthrough event for him to win a Masters. So those would be my top 3 favorites, Medvedev, Zverev, and then Tsitsipas. And I'd give a very, very slight edge to Medvedev, but I think any one of those 3 guys has a really good chance to win this event. And it'll be interesting, right? Because usually they're not favorites. It's always Djokovic or Nadal or Federer. Even Thiem is seen as better than those top 3. So this is their chance, right? And it'll be interesting to see who sort of steps up under the pressure. They're no longer underdogs; they're favorites in this event, and we'll see which one of them is the better competitor and able to sort of seize this moment and this opportunity and win a Masters event. So now let's move on to sort of the next group, and these are all players that have the talent and the ability to win Miami, but they haven't proven themselves like these top 3 players in either a Masters event or a Grand Slam, right? So they have the potential, but they haven't really put it all together in a big match, right? One that would be a Grand Slam match or a Masters event level. So out of the next three, Rublev would be the one that I think has a slight edge over the other two. He's a Russian player, is competes really well, just sort of a little step behind Medvedev, but also maybe improving faster than some of the other players. Really good competitor, right? Very fiery temperament, but really plays hard, competes hard, and for his size, hits the ball huge off of the forehand side. His timing on the forehand side is amazing and allows him to hit a huge ball off the forehand side. So the next one in that trio would be Berrettini. He is presently ranked 10 in the world. He has a huge serve, and if he gets into a nice rhythm, he can easily serve his way through a set. His serve is that big. He also has a huge forehand. Hits the ball really big off the forehand side. The only thing that's really holding him back is his movement, right? He doesn't move as well as the other players that we've talked about so far. And that's something that he'll need to improve if he wants to climb into the top 5 or 6 in the world. But he certainly has the potential to be a really dominant player. And it'll be interesting to see if he steps up given this opportunity and has the opportunity at least to get to the semifinal or the final of this event. Now, the third person that I put in this next group is sort of a new name, right? He is Karat Sev. He is also Russian. I really hadn't heard of him before the Australian Open. But of course, he had an amazing run at the Australian Open. He made it to the semifinal. He beat a lot of good players along the way. And then he ran into Djokovic, and Djokovic beat him pretty routinely in straight sets. But since then, he's also won another ATP tournament, showing that it's no fluke, that he has great skills, particularly from the baseline, right? He's kind of a baseliner, likes to rally, and it'll be interesting. Right now, he's ranked 27 in the world, but given the way he's played so far, and again, it's only been a couple of months, he seems like he's headed towards the top 10, top 15. And it'll be interesting to see how he performs in this tournament as well, right? Because he was a total unknown and a huge underdog at the Australian Open. And when he comes into Miami, people will know who he is. They will have seen how well he played at the Australian Open. And they will, of course, seen that he won another tournament. And in that tournament, he beat Rublev, which is a really good win for him. And so the people in the draw will know who he is, and they'll be ready, right? So we'll see if he can sustain sort of that high level of play that he started off the year with. So that group, Rublev, Berrettini, and Karat Sev would be the next three, in terms of, in my opinion, the most likely ones to win the Miami event on the men's side. Now I want to go and talk about some of the American players. I always like to see, who's playing well and keep track of, who the American players are and, of course, I think all of us who lived through the Sampras and Agassi and Courier and Chang era, and even I guess you could throw Roddick in there. That it's been a while since an American male has won a Grand Slam event, and it would be great to see someone step up and do that. So of the American players, of course, Isner would be the favorite here. He's the highest ranked American player at this time. He's 28 in the world. He's also won Miami before, right? So this is an event that he does well at. He's comfortable here. It's 3 sets, not 5 sets like in a Grand Slam. It allows him not to get as fatigued in the early rounds. And with his serve, he could serve his way through this tournament, right? And this is an opportunity for him too, right? I'm sure he likes the idea that he doesn't have to face a Djokovic or a Nadal. Those guys are so good at getting returns back and so good at making you play. And not having them in the draw, it has to be something that a big server looks at and says, yeah, maybe that's my opportunity. So we'll see how Isner does. And then I always like to look at to see the younger players and, see who's coming up. And so after Isner, my next pick would be Taylor Fritz. He is, 32 in the world. He has played pretty well so far this year. He's a player that has a lot of talent. I think one of the issues is, whether he's continuing to improve and he can, increase his level of performance over the next year or two, or whether he's getting to a point where his game is sort of getting close to its peak. He's somebody that has been in the top 30. And the next challenge for him would be to get into the top 20. I think he has the ability to do that. But again, if he's going to do that, he needs to be able to take advantage of opportunities like this, where he has a chance, a legitimate chance to get to a semifinal at a Masters event like Miami. So Taylor Fritz would be my next choice. And then behind him, look, there's a lot of talented young players. There's Riley Opelka, who's 6'11" with a huge serve. But the one that I've been following more closely is Tiafoe. And the reason I sort of pay more attention to Tiafoe is that he's extremely athletic. And if you look at the players that have been in the top 5 over the last 20 years, each one is just an incredible mover and defensive player, right? So whether we're talking about Federer, or we're talking about Djokovic, or we're talking about Nadal, we're talking about Murray, Ferrer, the guys who have been sort of in the top 5 on a regular basis over the last 10, 15 years. Each one of them has had not only really good offensive skills, but has had amazing defensive skills, right? And I think to get into the top 5, right, you have to be able to do that. You can't just be a great offensive player or just a great defensive player. You have to be both. And so Tiafoe has the athletic ability. Again, that's no guarantee, right, that you get to be a top 5 player. Like we've all watched Monfils, who is an extremely athletic guy, probably the most athletic player that I've seen on the tour. And of course, he hasn't been a top 5 player. He hasn't been able to play with the consistency. And of course, he hasn't had the decision-making that some of these other top players have played with. But again, the reason I like to watch Tiafoe is because I see the potential in his game. And he also has, some strokes that are a little lack maybe the finesse and the timing of some of the other players. His forehand is a little rough, but to me, if you have the athletic ability and you hit the ball big and you have a good serve, these are things that you can sit down with a coach and you can work out and you can improve. But you can only do so much with your athletic ability and your running. You're either born that way and you're gifted that way, or you're not. So I think that Tiafoe has tremendous potential, but he'll have to really work on his game and improve it if he wants to get into like a top 10. And he's sort of hung around the top 50 now, right? So we'll see if he makes his move or not. And then, of course, there's always some younger players that we want to pay attention to. They're definitely the future of tennis, and they've shown that they have great ability. So, of course, Sinner is a really young player. He's an Italian player. It's just fun to watch him play, and obviously he's going to develop into a really great player. I don't think he's ready yet to win an event like Miami, but he's certainly able to upset a really good player, and he's clearly improving and is going to be a top 20 player at some point. Also in that group of younger players is Felix. He's Canadian. He also has a really good game, hits the ball with lots of spin off of both the forehand and backhand side. Is a very physical player, very athletic player, and someone that's worth watching and paying attention to. Again, I don't think he's ready to win the Miami Open, but he has the talent to really upset anybody in this field, and to make a good run and get into, say, like a semifinal. It wouldn't surprise me. And then the other younger gifted player is Shapovalov, right? And he also has, plays very aggressive, plays very offensive, hits the ball really hard, hits the ball really big. He sometimes suffers from not being steady enough and playing a little streaky. And again, I think that happens sometimes with younger players, and it takes a little while to sort of, get sort of the control over your game so that you can sense in a match when you need to pull back a little bit and play steadier, and moments when you can be more aggressive and go for the winner, right? And making the right decision when you need to play a little steadier and be a little more defensive, right? When that moment is, and then when the opportunity is for you to be more aggressive and offensive and try to take control of the match. Okay, well, so those are my picks for the Miami Open. It's going to be the last hard court event before we start the clay court season. I know that they're going to have fans there, and I'm not sure whether they're going to allow full capacity or if it's just going to be partial capacity. But it's nice to see these events happening again, and the ATP Tour being able to do that. Of course, we're all disappointed that Indian Wells didn't happen, or at least has been postponed, and we hope that maybe in October we'll have a chance to do that. Okay, that's all for now. Rick Petherbridge signing out.